young scholars, welcome back. This is Angela at firstdegreebound.com. Hope you're having a good day. You know, this is almost the end of July, and I know within 2 weeks for some of you, maybe 3 weeks for others, the new academic year is about to begin. And right now, some of you are going through the registration process, and I want to talk to you about that because there's some very important things that you need to start thinking about right now if you've not thought about them before. I'm talking about class selection. Now, you heard me say in my intro that there's some things that you can be doing while you're a student, while you're a sophomore, even a freshman, even earlier. I guess it's certainly much better if you start as a freshman. But there are things that are very, very critical that can save you a lot of money in terms of selecting your classes wisely. You're thinking about going to college, you want to get that first degree. Well, it's time you start to plan, and your first plan of action is going to consist of selecting the right courses. What are the right courses? Well, courses with obviously academic content, but the key word is rigor. And how do you determine what the rigor is, the level of depth that is offered in a class? Very easily. If the class is considered honors or advanced placement, that is a class with academic rigor. And the reason why this is important is that the classes you take right now are going to affect your class rank by the time you're a senior. Now you might be saying, well, I won't worry about class rank, I'm just a sophomore or maybe a freshman. But let me tell you something. Do you know that you ranked after your first marking period? That's right. The classes that you select are going to determine your place in your class. You may say, well, gee, I've been a good student. I know I can really, really study hard. I can be in the top 10%, maybe the top 5%. I can be a top student at my school. But you know what? If you're not taking honors or AP classes, you can have wonderful grades, but still not be at the top of your class. Let me explain why. In many school systems, grades are weighted. And what that means is that on a system, typically of 4 points, where an A is worth 4 points, a B is worth 3, a C is worth 2. Now, and of course a 1 for a D and nothing, obviously, for a course that you may fail. But the student who takes the more advanced classes, the student who's going to take AP English might get a B in that class. But guess what? That student could still have a 4-point grade point average, because when you take classes where the grades are weighted, it's very, very important to understand. An A on a 4-point system is equal to 5 points. A B is equal to 4. So if you're taking a standard class and you get an A in that class, a student taking the AP class can get a B and still have a 4.0 GPA. So these are things that are very important to understand. From the very first marking period, whether it's 8 weeks, 9 weeks, or whatever your system has in your school, you want to understand that you are ranked from the beginning. Do you know your class rank right now? If you don't know it, you should know it. You should know it like you know your social security number. You should know it like you know your address. These are things that you should have. How do you find out what it is? The beginning of the academic year, make a visit to your guidance counselor and ask him or her if you may have an unofficial copy. It does not have to be official. Official ones are the ones that are stamped and usually sealed and sent off to college admissions offices. This is your record. You have a right to it. And so it's very important that you know that you can ask at any time for a copy of your unofficial transcript. And it is important to realize the classes that you think about taking even now can control some other things that can happen to you 3 years from now. I can give you an example. I remember several years ago when I worked in college admissions, and a young lady stopped by. She had been admitted. I had recruited her, and she stopped by to say hello, and I asked her how things were going. This is the beginning of the year. She was a brand new freshman, excited to be away at college, and she seemed a little bit puzzled, and I said, "Is everything okay?" And she said, "Yes." I said, "Are you getting along with your roommate?" She said, "Yes." She said, "But you know, it's kind of funny. My roommate is from another state, a neighboring state, and we both graduated in May, and we both went to register earlier this week." And she came back to the room and was very excited because she found out that, well, she's almost a sophomore, and I don't understand how that can be. We both just graduated from high school in May. Well, it's a simple answer. That young lady took more advanced level classes. That young lady took advantage of AP classes, advanced placement classes. Now, granted, yes, advanced placement is a more challenging class, but no one has ever had a cardiac arrest from having a challenging class. You're going to work, no question about it, but the results can save you, as I said, per semester, $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 a semester, because in many cases, if you have enough AP classes, you can, if you have 4 to 5 AP classes, you can eliminate a semester worth of study. And there are some students who come from schools where they have so many AP classes that some students are able to eliminate even a year of study, and that can really happen. Now, with an AP class, that means that you're eligible at the end of that year, that academic year, to take the AP exam. It's a national exam, everybody takes it, and there are only 5 points that you can get. Perfect score is 5 points. If you score a 3 or better, you can get some credits waived that you will not have to take on the college level when you get to your chosen school that fall. In other words, again, this is a chance. It's called advanced placement because you are actually getting advanced placement on the college level. And it's very important that you understand that. Now, find out what the policies are at your school. At some schools, you just can't sign up for an AP class. Some classes you have to qualify or you have to be made eligible, and eligibility might depend upon taking the honors level class the year before in that subject. And then you're eligible that following year to take the advanced placement class. So as you start to select your classes, select them wisely. Sign up for the honors level course if you're a sophomore, so by the time you're a junior you can take the AP. By the time you're a senior you can take APs and other courses. The academic rigor that you really engage yourself in is very, very important. Now you may say, well, you know, I really don't want to stress myself. Why not? Let me ask this question. I'm sure that there are people whom you admire in other areas, in other arenas. You may have a favorite entertainer, favorite singer that you enjoy. That person practices all the time. Are you athletic? Do you know someone who's athletic? Guess what they're doing right now while you're watching this video? If it's light outside, they're outside practicing. They're outside because guess what? You have to work at your craft. If you know that you are cerebral, if you are a scholar, if you consider yourself a student with intellect, guess what you need to do? You need to work at it. So of course the honors classes and AP classes are going to involve certainly more of your time and more of your work. But that's what it's about. You are first degree bound. You are on that track. And it's very important that you understand the system. The choices you make right now in terms of what to take in the fall are already going to determine whether you're going to be in the second 10% or the first 10%. Or in some schools they rank them by quartiles, meaning the top quarter of the class or the top half or the bottom half of the class. you can already determine, and you have a chance of changing your rank. If you get your grades the first time, and it's kind of a shock that first time if you're a freshman, just to kind of make that adjustment to a school, to a new place, to classes being on a different type of scheduling that you're not used to. So there's some adjustment. But you have a chance to change your rank. You can certainly work towards raising your class rank as the years go by. But the critical part of raising it to at least the position that you want to be in, to be considered eligible for different types of academic awards, you've got to take the rigorous classes now. When you go to register, let your parents see this video. Let them hear it too so they'll understand. Because I'll tell you, there is a problem. In some communities, students are not always encouraged to take the advanced level classes. There's a case going on right now in Arkansas, and I'm going to put a link to that case so you can read about it. A young lady who had a very high GPA, and she was supposed to be valedictorian of her class, and then found out at the last moment that she was going to be co-valedictorian, meaning she wasn't going to have the sole honors. There are some individuals who think, is this a case of discrimination? Why can she not have the sole honors? Because there's the case of this other student who's going to be her co-awardee, the co-valedictorian. But then there's the issue of, well, this student took more AP classes, so the GPA is really close. These are very real situations. You don't want to be in that situation. You want to make sure that you are in the rank that you want to be, in the category that you want to be, based on making wise decisions right now. It's very important. You have a lot of control over that, and I really hope that you will take it seriously. You'll take that whole process, understand the school system. A lot of times people assume, well, you don't know, you're not serious, your parents probably are not going to push you, so they may not push you. Well, that's why I'm giving you some of these insights. Understand that what you do right now can affect your rank. You can raise your rank if you decide, well, I selected my classes in the spring and they're not going to allow much opportunity for change. Take your parents with you to talk to the guidance counselor to find out why you can't make that change. Now, I do, of course, encourage you to find out what the rules are of your school. As I said, in some schools, you have to have the honors level before you're eligible to take the AP. Find out what the rules are at your particular school. But you know what? What you're doing right now is very, very important. I'm going to talk to you a little bit later about some issues regarding study and study habits, and I'm also going to be posting, as time goes on, a reading list that I want you to be aware of. This is not necessarily a reading list for a test. It's a reading list for your own personal enrichment. And this is a reading list that students at a very elite school in New England have to read within their 4 years. And I recommend that you also embrace this list. And I'll talk about that more in depth, because the more you read, the higher other scores are going to be, especially vocabulary, especially literature exams and reading-based exams. It's just going to happen just as a matter of exposure. Anyway, I hope I've given you some things to think about if you're about to go through the registration process, and if there's any opportunity to get out of some of those easy courses that are not going to give you any credit, do so. Take care, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye.